Okay, hi everybody, my name is Blake. This is my second video that I'm recording in this style, where I'm just kind of letting my thoughts go a little bit. I apologize if you hear some background noise, my dog is barking. Anyways, it is Monday, December 12th. I have an English final tomorrow, I have another final on the 17th and the 19th, and yeah, I'm stressing out a little bit, but I think I'll be alright. Anyways, so let me get into it. I've wrote some notes on my computer screen, so if you see me looking down, that's what it is, and hopefully it keeps me a little more concise and clear. Anyways, today I want to be talking about insecurity, ego, how it relates to young people, and how this is driven and supported by content creators in the style of Andrew Tate, this kind of pickup artistry, manipulation tactic idea that has sprung up very rapidly in young male circles. Okay, so first off, what is insecurity and what is ego? So there's varying definitions of this, but I'm going to be following a fairly simplistic definition. Insecurity is the feeling that you are inferior to someone, and ego is the feeling that you are superior to someone. So essentially, these work in tandem. I'm going to be discussing this a bit more later, but generally speaking, to have insecurity, you have to have ego, and to have ego, you have to have insecurity. And in a sense, these two function one and the same. Now, how does this relate to Andrew Tate and this kind of style of content creation? Well, when you look at Andrew Tate, and again, similar content creators, what's the other one? Sneeko, I think it is, where a lot of their content comes to placing women on this extreme pedestal and then tearing them down, right? This is what a lot of this is focused on, where it's built talking about, how women are this difficult thing to crack and to break, and how the only way you'll be able to have women around you is by buying an expensive car and making a ton of money and having this nice house. And they may say, well, yeah, but you still need to have personality and you still need to have game and all this, right? But at the core of it, the idea is still that, again, to have a successful relationship with a woman, or to even just go out with a woman, you in some way need to build yourself up to her level, right? Like the woman, this perpetual kind of idea of the woman exists, and then there is, like Andrew Tate, the man, and they need to bring themselves up to this level in order to compete, which of course is a very strange idea because, men and women, I mean, there's a similar number of men and women in the entire world. There's really not a huge difference. And functionally speaking, in terms of how their lives are led nowadays, yes, of course, women do experience, oppression in a variety of ways. Of course, they experience assault at a far greater rate, etc., etc. You understand the point I'm making. Generally speaking, though, in terms of direction that you're allowed to take your life, if you live in a developed country with, equal rights, you can lead a similar life. You can lead a very, 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 very similar life. And again, so this idea that men somehow need to achieve these incredible feats of, massive wealth, massive success, massive ownership, in order to just be on the same level as, the woman, this woman who exists, is strange. It's very strange. And again, this is born from insecurity and ego. And the reason that you see Andrew Tate and Sneeko and the what's it called? The Fresh and Fit and Fresh podcast, those people, right? The reason you see them tear down women is because they need to. Because the only way that they can actually envision themselves on a similar level of women is by either, because again, this is women, this is, your male content creator, by either doing this or by doing this, right? And that's why when they're talking about this, kind of woman, this general woman who exists, right? It's very easy to tear her down. It's very easy to say, the modern woman does this, the modern woman does that. Well, it's because, again, by creating this modern woman ideal, right, you can just manipulate it any way you want, not in the way that you can manipulate yourself. You can't just say, you know what, I'm 10 times richer than I am right now, or I'm more attractive than I am right now. You can't just make these things a reality. You can say them, but they're not, it's not functional, right? But in a conversation, you can say, oh, the modern woman has extremely high expectations, and the modern woman, is single, and the modern woman is this and that. Well, again, functionally, none of this is true, But it's a very easy thing to say because you're not talking about a real person. But again, when they get into a situation where they actually are talking to a real person, they're talking to a real woman, they have two functional strategies. And again, they're very much the same. They build themselves up, right? Or they knock the woman down, right? So, they ask the woman, skill testing questions. Oh, can you name how many countries, or how many countries can you name? Or what's the capital of France or something? And it's supposed to show, oh, look, the woman is stupid. The woman is stupid. So again, it's not just showing, though, that the woman is inferior. It's showing that the person asking the question, whoever it is superior to them. And it's creating this idea that this person I'm talking to is the woman. This isn't a person, this is the woman. This is this kind of perpetual face of woman. And I, as an individual, am superior to the woman. And this is a really important component of how this style of male content creation works. That again, you make young men feel like they are, in a sense, inferior to women, and that they need to achieve these things in order to have successful relationships with women, while at the same time telling young men that women fundamentally have these problems, in order for men to be able to look at women as this kind of strange dichotomy of a superior being and an inferior being. Okay, sorry, let me go on to the next thing. I already talked about that. Yeah, so the danger of this is just that it causes young men to both view women as this a superior thing and as this inferior thing. And it's very similar to the kind of the old adage, there's a fine line between love and hate, right? Like the schoolyard idea that the boy who likes the girl will tug her pigtails and slap her in the arm or something, or whatever, right? Because it's not that he actually dislikes her, right? It's that he feels in a way inferior to her, right? Because he places her on this kind of superior pedestal. And so in order to bring them to an equal level, he needs to knock her down, both metaphorically and literally, of course. And this kind of comes down to, let me bring this back around. So here, let me bring this back around to insecurity and ego. So as I said before, my definition of insecurity is the feeling that you are inferior. The definition of ego that I'm using is that you feel you are superior. So this comes down to a very clear and concise but important question. Why do you think that you are superior? Because a lot of people ask themselves, why do I think that I'm inferior? Why do you think that just, getting lower grades or being less attractive, why do you think that makes you inferior? That doesn't make you inferior. Everyone's equal. But very few people ask, why do you think you are superior? And people can say, well, I don't think I'm superior, right? I think I'm bad at everything. But here's the thing, right? If you're in a class and you get a C minus and you go, God, I am the dumbest person ever. Oh my God, that guy who got the A over there, he's so much better than me. He's so much smarter than me, right? Oh my God, he's so much more capable than me, right? Like, oh God. Well, here's the thing. There's someone in that class who got a D or who failed. And when you are saying that person who got a higher grade than you is better than you, is more intelligent than you, is more capable than you, right? You are, in a sense, simultaneously saying that people who received a lower grade than you are inferior to you. You are calling yourself superior, just in kind of a roundabout sense. Now, this also appears in a very straight up format, right? Like you hear about the burnt out genius, right? And, people sometimes put this down to, difficult family life or, mental illness or, running out of motivation or whatever, right? Like the Good Will Hunting kind of idea. And I'm sure that does happen. But my hypothesis as to why you see so many, burnt out geniuses, intelligent people who don't really seem to go too far, is because you develop such an intense, strong ego that as soon as you have it broken, it becomes so difficult to actually face the outside world. And this comes down, this is kind of the metaphor that I want to make for insecurity and ego, and I think it is an important way to consider how it actually functions. So insecurity is like your bare skin. It is like removing your clothing, right? It is, removing your undergarments. It is stepping into the freezing cold air. Ego is like armor. It shields you and protects you. It defines who you are, but in an unrealistic sense, right? In the way you see the gladiators with the faux, six-pack, right? It is not a necessarily true vision of who you are, but it is the essence in which you project towards other people because you want to create that sense of safety within yourself. You want to say, look, I have this armor, right? I have this armor. But underneath, you're still just flesh and bones. Anyways, the reason that you see people who are, attractive and successful and intelligent and yet so deeply insecure is because when you walk around in your daily life, masked by armor, up to the gills, head to toe, when someone eventually finds that Achilles heel, right, finds out that you aren't a natural blonde, or I don't know, you don't know the capital of France, or oh, you're not very good at playing piano, or whatever, doesn't matter. Well, guess what? You are going to feel that like a motherfucker. Because you have never been exposed to the outside world before. You've been shielded by this armor all around you. And when you have this tiny little piece, tiny little bit of skin showing, when someone eventually strikes it with an arrow, it kills you. It kills you. Of course, it kills you inside. Not literally. Maybe, but probably unlikely. But then when you see people who maybe are really good at one thing, or really good at two things, but in other senses are, not conventionally great, right? They're not conventionally attractive, right? They don't receive high grades in school. Now, again, I want to make it clear, I'm not actually defining inferiority and superiority here in a general sense. I'm defining inferiority and superiority by standards, right? When you see people like this, right? Someone like an Albert Einstein, right? Who's very intelligent, not the most conventionally attractive guy, not the most, socially skilled guy, and you see that they seem very secure, it's because they haven't gone around with, a full suit of armor. They've gone around with, maybe a bit of chainmail on the chest, right? Maybe down the arms, I don't know. And when that armor gets broken, it's not as devastating because they've lived most of their life with 3/4 of their body exposed to the elements. What's another eighth? What's another quarter? So when they fail a test, right? When they do something that hurts that ego, whether it's intelligence or beauty, right? Whether it's skill in a particular trade, whether it's social ability, they're just not as worried about it. Because, if they lose, a wrist guard or something, well, who cares? Their whole legs and feet and head and neck are exposed. Who cares? It's just a little more. It's not a big deal. And this is a very key thing to understand, is that the only reason that you feel insecure is because you simultaneously possess an ego. Because you feel superior in certain ways, you are susceptible to feeling inferior. Now, inferior in what way? Why do you feel inferior? Well, you don't feel inferior in this kind of giant universal sense. You feel inferior and superior based on standards, right? Based on standards that we have set. We have made up all these things. I'm just going to check the time really quick. Okay. We have made up all these things. We have made up grading scales. We have made up GPA, right? We have made up, sizes of clothing. We have made up measurements. We have made up, bachelor's and master's degrees and salaries. We have said all of these things. The only reason that $100,000 a year is considered a lot of money is because we've said it. It doesn't mean anything. $100,000 a year means nothing. There's no conventional meaning in that. Or sorry, I should say there's no universal meaning in that. There is a conventional, what's the term? Colloquial. There's a colloquial meaning in it. But we just made it up. We made up money and we made up income brackets. And even then, we made up all the words that I am speaking right now. When I'm speaking eloquently to you right now, which I hope I'm doing, I don't know, who's to say, that's because we've just made up these words. If I say a big word to you, right? If I tell you that you are acting obsequiously, well, guess what? Someone just made up that word. Like, there's the only reason why that word, obsequious, is considered rare and special and impressive, but, servitude is, which is basically what obsequious means. It means to be servile. Servitude or slave or servile are commonplace words. It's just because of the way the English language evolved. It's not showing that you and I are more intelligent or more capable. It's just showing that I happen to know a random fucking word because I read A Clockwork Orange. Big whoop. Big whoop. So, the only reason that you feel inferior is because you feel superior. And the only reason that you feel either is because you compare yourself on a set of standards that you have accustomed yourself to and the world has accustomed to you and to themselves. Right? And accustomed around them. Right? There is no, universal truth as to what intelligence is. Right? Or what athleticism is or capability is. Like you see this with, a lot of people talk about how men are more athletic than women. Well, not necessarily. It's just that the ways we have designed athleticism to be measured are activities that favor the male body, right? Women have superior balance and superior agility. They are, generally speaking, they're better at like gymnastics, for example, right? Because they're superior at landing, right? And they're typically, again, they're more capable of contorting their body, etc., right? Women are greater at extremely long distance running, right? And the reason that we say men are more athletic than women is because we are placing women into sports that have been designed to harness the capabilities of the male body, right? Like basketball is a prime example of this. You see people talk about, the WNBA, women can't dunk. Well, yeah, because the female body isn't designed as much for explosiveness, right? That, because jumping is, when you really functionally think about it, a very silly thing to do, right? Like, how many times do you think in a survival setting when you're hunting, woolly mammoth, would you really need to start like just jumping really high? You can imagine, jumping up and throwing a spear. I mean, it'd be more effective to just plant your feet and really get a good, hard throw. You could throw it harder and more accurately. Jumping is kind of a silly action. It's very explosive, right? And while women aren't particularly great at jumping, they're good at like literally everything else. And they're better at a lot of other things. This is, again, when you watch the WNBA, women run up and down the court, just as fast. They pass the ball just as well. They shoot the ball just as well. It's just that they can't particularly dunk. Because, again, the way that, their hips and pelvic floor and, legs are all, interconnected is not as designed for explosive power. That's just what it is. And we've just designed these standard forms of athleticism and intelligence, an IQ score, right? Or, if you're really good at chess, you're really smart. But again, we've just made these things up. And so the only reason that people can feel superior or inferior is because someone else or something else, right, some test, is telling you so. But here's the thing. You don't have to tell yourself that. You can have a test tell you that, yeah, you got an A+, or you got a B, or you got a C. But you don't have to tell yourself from that means I am superior to everyone who got a C. Because all that test is telling you was, you got this grade. All it tells you. Anything else that you pull from that, anything else that you say, well, that makes me better than this, is something that you have done. And yes, someone else, something else, some system, some standard has instilled this in you, but you have done it for yourself. And this comes down to my core point, which is, how do you stop feeling inferior? Because I've dealt with inferiority before. I've dealt with insecurity before. I've dealt with feeling unsocial. I've dealt with feeling unattractive. I was, very insecure about my appearance for a very, very long time in high school. And I was very uncomfortable with the idea of, expressing that to other people, because it felt like when I was insecure, when I felt like I was inferior, to voice that, to say to people, look, I don't feel attractive, or I don't feel intelligent, right? Or I was very insecure about my social ability, my ability to talk to people. By voicing that, by saying that to people, in a sense, I am making it real. I'm saying, look, I admit that I feel inferior to you. And by admitting this inferiority, right, it almost makes me inferior, because it says, look, I have things that I feel bad about. But that's what you need to do. You need to feel bad about things before you can feel good about things. And so the way that you stop feeling inferior is not by feeling not inferior, by not feeling inferior, sorry. It's by not feeling superior, and it's by not desiring the need to feel superior. It's not looking at your test score and saying, I did better than these people, I'm better than these people. It's not looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm more attractive than these people, right? It's not doing a sport or, I don't know, playing a game and saying, look, I'm better than these people. I'm fundamentally at the core of it better than these people. Because whenever you say that you're better than someone else, you are acknowledging the fact and the possibility that there is someone who's better than you. And someday, you're going to run into that person, and it's going to fucking crush you. Because you're going to realize that you are just as inferior as all these people that you deem so. But again, it's just by some crap metric. It's by something that someone made up. It's by, kill-death ratio, or by how fast you can play a certain song, right? Like, it's crap. If you don't want to feel inferior anymore, if you don't want to feel insecure anymore, you need to stop feeling superior. You need to drop the ego. And that is kind of the danger that a lot of these kind of pickup artist, male, whatever you want to call, content creators, Andrew Tate's, the Sneeko style content creators, they push this idea that there's inferiority and there's superiority, and they push it so greatly that they deem that essentially your social ability, not social ability, but both actually, I guess, is determined by the level of superiority and inferiority that you possess relative to other people. And it's why they put people down so much. For no reason. So, don't put people down, okay? Don't believe that you're better than other people. In general, don't compare yourself to other people. And just don't worry so much about what other people can do. Unless you want to just think about it in a vacuum. You want to think about, damn, that person's really good at that. Okay? Because there's no point sitting there thinking, man, that person's so good at that, I wish I could do that. Or, man, that person can do that, I can do this, and it's even better. So what's the point? What's the point? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you can do, and it doesn't matter what the other person can do. It's all just stuff. So stop feeling superior to other people, and that's how you break out of insecurity. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Hope everyone has a good day, and yeah, I don't know. Praise be to the Drain Gang.